Hey everyone, Happy New Year and welcome back to Sandro Says. It's 2026 and I wanted to break down the finale's ending, the big mystery and big discussion online going about Eleven's fate. So let's dive into it, but first, if you don't mind, please leave a like on the video. Last time I set a goal of 10, this time I'm going to be ambitious and set a goal of 15 likes. Please guys, you were awesome last time, let's get there. Alright, so Mike has a theory. For those of you who didn't see the end, and you should just go back and watch it, Eleven seemingly sacrifices herself into the bridge of the Upside Down when the bomb goes off at the end of episode 8, denying the military their toy to play with and her blood to be experimented on. However, there are some theories out there. Mike basically comes out and says that what he believes is that Kali, from across the map, sitting in Hawkins' lab still, was able to get inside the soldiers and all the Black Hand, everyone's mind basically, and Eleven was able to slip away as a result. There is some validity to this, though, beyond what Mike says, so I'm going to dive into what I think the main factors are that tell us that she's still alive, because in my opinion, I think she is. So, the fact that her nose was not bleeding. Now, if she was standing on the other side of the void, or the other side of that portal there in the Upside Down, and she wanted to get inside Mike's head or do anything like that, her nose would have bled. They established that throughout the series. They established that earlier in this episode. It's her most known feature, basically. So if her nose wasn't bleeding, something is off immediately. Now, maybe they'll go back and edit this scene in post like they did with Holly Wheeler having the Under Armour, wristband on. I don't know. I doubt it, though. This seems deliberate. Because they always leave breadcrumbs like this. Two, as Mike pointed out, how would she have been able to do anything like that if the suppression stone, if those noisemakers, her kryptonite, if the kryptonite was there, even if she was to run over to the void at that point, or to the Upside Down, she wouldn't have been able to just run. She was basically stumbling whenever that noise was turned on. And the soldier does say she was just here a second ago, meaning the soldiers saw Eleven on the Hawkins side of the Upside Down. She didn't jump out of the truck before the truck passed over. So that was my original thought, but the soldier says he saw her. So, or was that another mind trick? Who knows? See, my original thought when I was watching through this, the scene got me, and I was like, oh man, she's really gone. And then a couple minutes later, when they were showing some of the aftermath and they were getting ready for the graduation, I said, well, if Vecna learned how to do the mind trick powers of Kali, why wouldn't Eleven figure that out? But it turns out it's something else. Okay, so the last thing that really points me towards the Eleven being real, or being alive at the end, is that they show her at the end. They flat out show her alive, walking toward this magical village in the mountains somewhere in Scotland or Ireland or Australia, who knows. I don't think the show would save the one fantasy shot for the absolute last scene in the show with their most important character. I don't think they would do that. It seems like the entire show was just shot for what was going on. There was no imagination, there was no type of dream sequences or things like that. It was just, this was what's happening. There were memories, sure, but it was never a memory of something that didn't happen. So I don't think that the show would choose this point to show her escaping to this place. I believe that her words to Mike actually hint towards this. When she says to Mike that he will understand, he doesn't understand now, but he will, she means that in two ways. I think she means that he will figure out that she couldn't have possibly gotten over there with the suppression powers and all that stuff, and that without bleeding it wasn't her, all that crap, and that he will figure out that she needed to do this and that she escaped, and that, she's somewhere else. So I think that's and he might even figure out where she is. She might send a letter to him someday once she figures that the government's not watching the Wheelers. You have to assume everyone in the main show is going to be watched like a hawk by the government in case Eleven tries to reach out to them. But they probably won't do that forever. So, just throwing that out there. And I personally also believe that when you see Kali have her moment of... They focus on it at the end. There's a reason that the directors and stuff, they do this. They show these things. They show Kali at the end seemingly understanding Hopper's point of, hey, there's happiness on the other side of this. You can try for the unimaginable happiness where people don't want to kill you and take your blood. And even she says, as she's dying, she says, my story ends here, sister, but yours doesn't have to. I don't know. I'm just reading into all of that, and I think the Duffer Brothers are being ambiguous now because they know that leads to controversy and it leads to clicks, leads to views on the movie, leads to people watching scenes and poring over them and looking for details. I think in 5 or so years, or even less than that, they're going to come out and say, yes, obviously she's alive. It might even be more obvious when in 10 years they do a spin-off or some type of follow-up on 11 or Mike's Search for 11. Who knows? I mean, I've heard a million times, in Hollywood especially, that something is never going to happen, and then it does. Famously, Jurassic Park, when Michael Crichton died, I believe it was in 2004 or 2005, they were planning Jurassic Park 4 at that point. After he died, they said, no, we will never make another Jurassic Park movie. And there have been 4 movies since then. So there were less movies before he died than there are made after he died. So just, if anyone thinks that this series is done and it's just going to have this little spin-off and then totally untouched, it's too valuable of a franchise for them to just leave it if they, if someone asks them and pays enough, and if Millie Bobby and, Finn aren't doing anything in a couple years, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying, don't believe them when they say, well, it's completely over and it's all ambiguous. I think that's just them right now selling the season. So, all right, let me know what you all thought in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed the episode. I enjoyed the episode overall. I have some, thoughts on that, and I'm going to get into that in my next episode. But for now, I really just wanted to cover the 11 scene and what I think is the reasoning that she's still alive. So, all right, I will see you next time on Sandro Says. Take care.